All right, folks, and welcome back to Procreate. So this lesson is going to be about 100% color theory. We're going to be using Procreate kind of to show some of the graphics, but this is the basis of all digital art color. So if you're familiar with this as an experienced graphic artist, you may want to skip this lesson, but if you're new to digital art and you're new to color, let's go ahead and get into it. So there are really three aspects of color in Procreate I want to show you. Let's go ahead and open this up. And now let's go ahead and bring up the color disk. Now, when we bring up the color disk, the first demographic, let's say, of color is going to be the hue. And you see the hue is this outer spinny circle here, right? So the outer circle is what is called the hue. Then you've got the saturation. So saturation is this inner circle, and it runs from the left to the right. The further left you go, the less saturated it is. The further to the right you go, the more saturated it is. Now, the third dimension of color is brightness or lightness, depending on what you want to call it. And this moves up and down. You see up here at this area, it's very, very bright. And down here, it's very, very dark. All right, so that's the color wheel. Now, let me show you how Procreate represents this. You have a classic layout, and now you've got the same things. Your hue slides this way. Now watch the little circle. Notice it didn't change when I adjust the hue, but now watch me adjust the saturation. Saturation adjusts left and right, exactly like I said, and your brightness adjusts accordingly. So brightness runs up and down, hue runs through this slider and doesn't move the little circle, and saturation moves the circle from the left to the right. In this way, every color of the rainbow is possible. So now let's take a look at the value sliders. You'll see here you've got HSB. This stands for hue, saturation, and what they're calling brightness. I call it lightness. HSL, HSB, kind of the same thing. Now, the three letters that are important here, these are R, G, and B. Now, if you look at a digital device, all of the colors that you see on a digital device come from a combination of red, green, and blue. That's what RGB stands for. Now, if you're a print aficionado, you print in CMYK. So, this is my disclaimer. Most printers can print in RGB, but if you're working in print, you may want to check your colors done on the iPad to make sure that they still translate in CMYK. This is why a lot of artists will do their work on the iPad and then turn it over to Photoshop that can do the conversion. Procreate only works in RGB. All right, now the most important thing for you guys here is what is called the hexadecimal code. You see that this hexadecimal code here is 88C7A8. Any conceivable color you create, so let's make it kind of a reddish, kind of something that's a little heavier saturated, maybe a brown, is C74C1E. Now, if you have this code, you can match any color out there, right? C1E. So there are a lot of websites to help you do it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you three new references that you may use, you might find valuable, and I'm going to show you how the hexadecimal code will help you get there. So let's go ahead and go to the desktop for a second. All right, so we're on the desktop, and I'm at a site called coolers.co. All right, this is a color generator, and if you're doing design work, it's really cool because it puts together random colors for you. So let's check it out. Start the generator. And I'm not going to take you on a full tour of this. You can certainly go through the website. But you'll see down here, you've got the number or the hashtag or the pound sign, whatever you want to call it. And then you've got a 6-digit code. This is the hexadecimal code. So let's say that you like this color. You can lock it. And now watch what happens when I press spacebar. Because I locked it, it will look at colors that might look good with that. So let's say I like that. I can choose another. And now if I want to adjust this, I can adjust the hue, the saturation, and the brightness, folks, exactly like we talked about. And they'll even give it to you in RGB, CMYK. All right. So let's say you want to see how this looks on the other side. You can drag it to the other side to see how this looks close to that. So Coolers is a great website. Now, you can do a lot more with it here, right? They've got a ton of settings. You can go ahead and click on a monochromatic theme. All right, so if we go ahead and we click that, let's unlock that, unlock that. Now you've got kind of a monochromatic thing going, right? That would be really cool, and it shows up here, monochromatic mode. All right, so there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. Now, let's say you like this color palette. You can go through and you can export it either as a PDF or a PNG. So you can then have a set of swatches with a hexadecimal code that will allow you to find this. Now, let's check out another website that you might not know about, Design Seeds. Now, these people go through and they pull different photographs, and what ends up happening here is they create collections, right? So let's say here, you can go here and you find a photograph that you like, right? Let's take spring greens. And you're able then to pull a color palette. Now, these guys do a great job. I would highly recommend you visit their site. Now, later what you're able to do is we can go through with the color picker and you can definitely grab some of these swatches. That's covered in the how to create a custom swatch lesson. All right, so that's a little bit about Design Seeds. Now, the last website I'm going to show you here is Adobe Color CC. This is completely free, and you've got your different choices. We're not going to cover this in this lesson, but there are things called color rules. So let's say you're monochromatic. It will lock it into a certain hue, and then it will just begin adjusting saturation and such. You could do a triad. You could look at complementary color schemes, which are completely across. Now watch what happens when you begin to twist this a little bit. You can begin to adjust and get some different complementary colors, and you see how I'm able to move these out and in? So you can take one where you got shades, all right? So, and then you can go through and you can bring these shades anywhere you want. Say you want to do something in a yellow. Now you got different shades. Now, the cool thing about this is, take a look down here. If you like that color, it gives you the hexadecimal code in order to do this. So, there's a tremendous amount of flexibility in here. And one of the things we're going to do in the later color lessons, we're going to show you how to match this hex code into your palette to make sure that you're in good shape. All right, folks, there's some design resources for color, a little bit on color theory. Hope you learned a little bit of something. All right, let's go ahead and get on to the next lesson. We'll show you how to work with color in Procreate.